back to the Positive Gains podcast. My special guest today is Veronica Colon. Veronica is a life coach, author of the book Half Baked Love, and a mom as well. Veronica, how are you?
I'm doing so good. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Just
So,
chilling.
so yeah, I have a lot of questions for you. You're the first author as a guest on the podcast, so shout out to you for that.
Yay, that's exciting.
Yeah. So I wanted to know what came first for you. Was it being a life coach and then that translated into writing a book, or was it the other way around?
So I actually became a life coach first. I went to Liberty University and I got a degree in psychology there. And I like coaching more than I do counseling. It's funny because like I was a competitive cheerleader for so many years. And so I really love the cheering of people on. And so just kind of translated into like life coaching, but definitely life coaching came first. And then I always wanted to be an author. I just feel like I didn't have enough content in my 20s. I didn't live enough life yet with the kind of book that I wanted to write. And now I do. So I wrote a book.
So about your book, before we get into the nitty gritty of it, let's talk about the process of trying to write a book. Can you take me through it as far as maybe the experiences that you had, if you had some ups and some downs, writer's block with it?
Yeah, so writing a book is an experience, to say the least. I feel like, so there's two different ways you can write. You can write from inspiration and you can write from craft. And when you're actually writing a book, you write from both. Because there's a lot of times where you're not actually going to feel inspired. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, I have to hit 40,000 words, or I have to finish 2,500 words for this chapter. And it really does start to give you kind of like, it's not really a writer's block, but kind of just like you're bogged down. And so a good writer is somebody who practices and writes even when they don't want to, even when they're not inspired. And so that was really hard for me because like I like poetry, I like writing poetry, I like writing little blurbs, and I feel like the majority of my writing has always been inspirational versus from the side of the craft of actually just pushing through it. And so I would say that that's definitely something that most people don't realize, that when you are writing a book, like half of it is inspired and half of it is like really just doing the work and like digging in there and finding more things to say, and helping people understand the words that you're putting out there. So yeah, it's definitely a process of pushing
Absolutely.
through. It takes a lot of discipline, and a lot of like just mental space and being willing to learn from other people. Like I'm a big reader, so like I read a lot of different books. And so even while I was writing my book, I was still reading other people's books because I'm like how are they saying certain things, like how are they translating this to the world? Because it's your story if you're writing something that's about you, and it's like you want to present it in a way that everybody understands. So it's relatable.
Wow. And so your book, Half Baked Love, what is that? In your, obviously your own words, but the title obviously is real catchy. But what exactly is Half Baked Love?
So, Half Baked Love is my feelings on my marriage that fell apart. I ended up getting a divorce, and it just felt like really half baked in the sense that it never got the chance to be fully developed. There was a lot of immaturity on both sides, and just really like just prematurely like ended because the work wasn't done. I didn't know how to do things. He didn't know how to do things. And so that's why like it was really weird because I was trying to think of a title for my book, and I'm obsessed with cookies, which is why it's really hilarious that when we started this freaking eating a cookie. But it was what resonated with me. It's like, oh my God, it was like this whole thing was just kind of just like a half-baked cookie. Like, it looks good on the outside. Like everything looks all, brown and a little bit crunchy. But then when you tear it apart, it's like raw on the inside. And so
Right.
like that's kind of where the whole concept came for me. Hence the cookie on the book too. I ate a bunch of those. But yeah, that's where I came up with the name Half-Baked Love.
And then besides the life experience that that you drew from writing the book, were there anything was there anywhere else that you drew inspiration from? Maybe you like, you know, your childhood or just anything in general that helped, you know, facilitate the book?
Yeah, so again, like I'm a really big reader. And so a couple of people that I mentioned in my book and that really like I don't say this lightly, like reading saved my life. Like it
Wow.
really, really did. And I read other people's books because it's like we live in a world of information and it's like get a book, people. Like if you don't know how to do something, get a book, read a book. And so a couple of authors, Rachel Hollis, like I would say Rachel, like I literally sent her a message. It's so funny. She's famous, guys. Okay. But I sent to Rachel Hollis a message and I was like, you literally saved my life. Because when you're going through a really hard season of your life, it's really easy to withdraw, right? But I decided to like, I wanted to grow. And reading Rachel Hollis's books, I felt like encouraged. I felt empowered. I felt validated. And I was like, oh, I can do this. Like I can move forward. My life can be better at the end of this. And another one that I read, what was it? Glennon Doyle, Untamed. Phenomenal. Really phenomenal book. But I would say that reading is what really like inspired me. Reading other people's stories and knowing that like if they can get through something, I can get through something. Oh, and one more was Kara Leba, who's like she writes like self-help books.
Right.
And reading her book was what encouraged me to actually self-publish instead of going the traditional route with a publishing company, because she was like, anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. And by the end of the book, I was like, oh, I was hyped, you know? I was like,
Right.
yeah, I could do it too. So yeah, reading. That was my inspiration, reading.
And so, like when people read your book, obviously a lot of people are going to gravitate towards it. Maybe the ones that are going through a divorce or have been in the same boat as you. But I think also on the other side that people are able to tap in that maybe they're going through marriage problems. And if they're reading your book, maybe they had the same similar circumstances, but they're able to fix things before it's too late. So shout out to you for that, for being able to bridge the gap and help both sides. But with that being said, what do you hope people take away from reading your book on both sides?
On both sides, well, if you have not gotten a divorce yet and you're contemplating it, I hope that the takeaway for you is that there's always second chances. You know, there really are always second chances, that if you guys are both committed, and even if one person starts off committed and the other one isn't, like there's always time to do the work. And if you really commit to doing the work, the personal development, getting the counseling, the therapy, whatever it is that you need, if you commit to it, I promise you, you will see a change in your relationships, because good relationships come from two healthy people. And when two people are unhealthy and they're broken, like it just doesn't work. It really just doesn't. And it's not because you're not meant to be together. I think people are very, very fast and quick to be like, we're just not meant to be together. And that's not true. I mean, you're not the same person you were last week. You learned something, right, in a week.
Right.
And so it's like, that's the same process with relationships. Like people are constantly changing and evolving, and you have to have the grace to evolve, and you need to give people the grace to evolve and do the work. And then on the other side, if you have gotten a divorce like me, it's that, again, there's a second chance. You can try again, learn from your mistakes. What happened in that divorce? Like really like get introspective with it and like examine, what were you doing? What were you not doing? Like what happened? What were the triggers? Because I mean, I literally just had a conversation today with somebody who's just like ending their relationship. And I was like, listen, no matter where you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. So whatever you're not fixing in this relationship, you repeat in another one, and you're going to have to face the same thing. So are you going to leave everybody?
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, are you? No, at some point you have to do the work. You have to figure out, what am I contributing to this relationship that's tearing it apart? Or what am I contributing that can build it back together? And so either way, if you're contemplating it, you know, grace to you. And if you've already gotten the divorce, grace to you too, because it's a whole other ball game when you're in that divorce demographic too. But just learn that pretty much my takeaway for myself and even for other people, I want you to see that like marriages can be a very good thing. Marriage is a beautiful thing. I think it was designed to be a beautiful thing, but it is hard. And the idea of that it's easy or that it's going to be easy or stay easy is a fallacy. And you just have to be willing to grow together and really do some hard work. And even if you're single, work on yourself. Take the time to work on yourself and develop yourself so you attract better partners. Well,
so in a sense too, go ahead.
I said a partner.
All out there, yeah.
Everyone come.
Right. So, but in a sense, even like you said, the single people, even they could take something away from that book. That's what I gathered from it. Like everybody can read something to help them not make mistakes, or again, being in the same boat, as you or somebody else. It's all relatable in the same sense.
I feel like it really is, because like growing is a universal thing. You have to grow as a person. And I feel, especially now, like when I was younger, and even when I think back like on my parents, like that generation, personal development wasn't big for anybody at that time. Like our parents, I don't know how old you are. I'm 37. So I don't know. But like my parents, personal development was not a big thing. I feel like within the past, like I would say 15 to 20 years is when personal development is really like, taking charge in people's lives. There's plenty of resources out there. There's a ton of motivational speakers that are really encouraging people to grow. And that's what I'm about. Like, that's what the book is about. Like, really, like, yes, it's my story, yes, it's tragic and like whatever it is. But the bottom line of the book is like, it doesn't matter what happens to you. You still have a choice to grow. It doesn't matter, like, who's for you, who's against you, you still have a choice to grow. And one of the biggest life lessons I think I've learned through this entire process is the power of your decision. Make a choice, whatever it is, because the majority of the time, like we're struggling and we're suffering, and it's all because of indecision. It's because we don't know where we're at inside of us. And so the minute you make a decision, commit with it, like all the way, go full send and follow through, and you're going to see a lot of results that way.
You feel like this is a kind of a side question, but piggybacking off of what you said about like the parents' generation, it kind of seemed like back in those times, it was more comfortable for people to just turn a blind eye and then just be okay with things and basically suffer in silence, right? And just keep the family together so everybody's happy. Right. Nowadays, you see more life coaches, you see more people being outward and talking about their experiences and writing it down. I kind of think that's maybe the beauty of social media, that it's giving people a platform. But I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
So it's funny that you say that, because I will not say any names, but I got a very nasty text message from somebody that I know who is of that older generation.
Oh, okay.
And basically, I was told like I didn't respect my marriage, right, that I should have stayed together until my kid was 18 and then went a different way. Plenty of women have suffered infidelity. Why do I feel like I need to share my story? Like, who am I to share my story? Like you should have just stayed quiet. And so to your point, correct. Correct. That generation and even older generations, that was the thing. That was a social standard for females, that, okay, your husband's going to cheat on you. You're going to sit there and you're going to put up with it, and you're going to sit there and look pretty, and you're going to raise a bunch of kids and whatever. But my biggest conviction, my parents were divorced. And, it's not like I wanted to repeat the cycle or anything, but right, I couldn't look at my kid. Like, I could not look at my daughter in the eyes and tell her she's worthy and she's deserving of like a good man, a godly man, somebody who loves her, respects her, honors her, who's going to work hard, not only for her, like, providing right, for her, like financially, but emotionally, spiritually, like all of these things actually do matter. And I couldn't look her in the face and be like, you're worthy of all that, and me settle for less. Because more is caught than taught with kids. So you can say whatever you want to your kids, but if you don't live it out, they're just like, what are you talking about? Like,
exactly.
And I remember feeling that, like growing up, my parents were like, oh, you can be whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. And then me thinking like, well, what was your dream? Like, what did you want to do? you know, and then realizing later, like, you know, they've had the opportunity to now fulfill it, you know, but I'm like, man, like, I can't tell my daughter, like, oh, it's been my dream my whole life, you know, to be a writer and not write a book. You know what I'm saying? It's like, even if it doesn't go anywhere, that's not the point, you know, and that's really something that people really, another thing that people need to get a hold of. It's like, the dream is not the point, the journey is. Like, do the work, get there. You know what I mean? Because in the journey is when you actually start becoming the person you need to be.
Wow. That's got to be a quote from the book, right?
I don't know. I don't think so.
So that kind of leads me into the next question. Excuse me. You know, you said you got like a nasty ground from somebody, you know, regarding the situation. So feedback, obviously you're going to get some flack, but the other side, you know, what are some of the good things that people are telling you regarding the book?
I mean, I've gotten a lot of good feedback, thankfully. Just women feeling validated, which is so huge, because when you're in that middle, especially if you're getting divorced because, you know, your husband had an affair or whatever, it's not just black or white, you know, there really is a big gray area there, because you're in love with this person, you are, right? You love this person, but this person did something wrong to you. So it's the back and forth. It really is like a tug of war. So a lot of women were like, oh my God, like, I appreciate the fact that you were so real with that. Like, you were not saying, that's it, F him. You know,
Right.
I was like, no, I love him. Like, and I'm pissed at him. You know, I throw a brick at his head, you know? And then, you know, next day I'm like, I hate him. So it really does go like back and forth. And so a lot of women really felt validated, which was really encouraging, because I mean, a lot of people read this book. Like, I was trying to get a publishing deal, which I did, but I decided to go a different way. And, you know, they were like, it's too raw. It's too raw. Like, that's way too vulnerable. Like, cut that back. Don't say too much. Like, do less.
Wow.
And I was just like, but you see, like, this book is what I was looking for when I was going through it. And so I'm not going to lie to somebody and tell you, oh, by the way, you'll get from point A to point Z and it's going to be amazing. Like, no, it's going to be messy. That's why it's called the messy middle. And so a lot of validation. I had a lot of single moms read the book, and they felt really encouraged. They also felt very validated, and also like empowerment. Everybody's like, I feel really empowered. I even had people who were never married, don't have kids or anything. And they're like, I felt like convicted to actually work on my relationship with my parents, like to really figure out, like, why am I so upset at them? Like, and find forgiveness and forgive them and move forward. And so the book really deals with a lot of themes of forgiveness and being vulnerable. And also just like the personal development, taking personal responsibility, which I'm very big advocate of. And so, yeah, I mean, so far everybody loves it. I've had a lot of people like literally send me messages that they're like, I can't make it past chapter 4. I am bawling. Like, I am just sobbing right now. And I'm like, girl, I know, I was there. You know, it's like, I was there for a time. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a story that resonates with everybody, really. Like, even if your husband didn't cheat on you, everybody has suffered the rejection, you know, everybody suffered not knowing what to do and feeling like your whole world's falling apart all at the same time. And all of this happened while I was pregnant. And then I give birth. And then I'm like, oh crap, like, what am I going to do now? So it was like single mom, like from the jump. So very, very difficult part of my life. But I really believe that, you know, God brings beauty from ashes. And like, if you're willing and you're available to like dig into something, do it.
How does that feel though, knowing that like your book is in a sense helping people break generational curses, that people are tearing down these things that they're accustomed to hearing and accustomed to feeling, and now they have a sense of openness about them. And, you know, like you were saying, people were telling you this. How does that make you feel?
I can cry about it, you know, because, well, one, I'm a girl and I literally cry about everything. But I get very emotional about it because, like, it was in my private time with God, right? And praying about this. I said, you know what, Jesus, and I'll just be straight up, okay? I was like, God, I don't even care about anything. I just want this to matter.
Mm.
Let it matter, you know, because everybody goes through hard stuff. I get that. You know, I'm not an isolated event. I don't think I'm special, went through something super horrible. No, none of those things. But I was like, you know what? Let it matter. You know, this is like one of the gifts that I feel like I have over my life is to communicate with people, is to write, you know, communicate well, effectively, verbally and written word. And I was like, God, I just want it to matter. If it helps one person, just let it matter. If one person fights for their marriage, you know, for another 2 months because they read this book, it matters, you know, because I believe marriages are important, healthy families are important. And even people who have gotten a divorce to know that, guess what? You can still have a healthy relationship and a healthy marriage after that too. And so it's an honor. Like, hands down an honor. I absolutely like cry when people cry about it, and like they text me and they send me messages, and I sit there and I'm blown away because I'm like, man, like if God can do anything in your life, it really is to be, I don't know, just to be the example of like God can redeem everything,
Mm-hmm.
everything. And so I don't know. I don't want to cry about it, but I don't have
Hey,
water or anything on, but it's an honor. I feel honored. I really do feel honored. And I feel very humbled that for as hard as it was for me, that I can help somebody get through it faster,
Pastor.
healthier.
And so you got so much going on. Your mom, the book, you did the, was it the book launch, right? Or book signing,
Yeah,
just a few days ago. And then, still being a life coach. So how do you juggle? How hard is it to juggle with everything that you've got going on right now?
it's a challenge. It really is a challenge. But I feel like my life has equipped me for it in very weird, random ways.
Right.
I was a full-time general manager for a luxury hotel when after I had my daughter. I had to go back to work, and I was like, what am I going to do? I needed some money, getting ready to be a full-time single mom and, do the thing.
Right.
And so I worked like 80 hours a week. Like, I mean, just
Oof.
insane. I had a full-time nanny, and I was coming home, doing the dinner thing, putting my baby to bed and writing the book. And so in that season, I'm telling you, like, nothing is wasted in this life, not one thing. We think it is, and it's not. It's always preparation for something else. And so that season of hard, of tired, of like really having the discipline to finish, and to finish well, not just finish, like really do a good job, like do your best. I feel like that's when I grew my capacity in those 2 years of like extreme hardness, trying to run this hotel, write this book, be a good mom, actually get counseling and therapy and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so that built my capacity to be like, okay, wait, if I can work so hard on somebody else's dream, because the hotel's not my dream, even though it was like my baby. Seriously, it wasn't like my baby, but it wasn't my dream, but if I can work so hard on somebody else's dream, this is God preparing me for my dream. This is God saying, you know how to do this now. You know how to deal with hard, intense pressure, a lot of stress for a prolonged period of time, and you know how to manage your time. And so it's basically a lot of time management, and like, I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a single mom, and like mentally, it is exhausting. It is a lot. But I always think about the bigger picture. It's not forever. And like, I almost wrote a song about it, but I did it. But I'm going to one day, and it's going to be called Now Is Not Forever. Because like, for the good and for the bad, but now is not forever. Everything passes, everything changes, seasons change constantly. And so I just kind of look forward to the next season, whatever that is, and I've just put my head down and I just grind it out.
And so that leads me into, what's next for you? Is there another book? I know you talked about Song in the Future. What is it? What is it that you have going on that now that you kind of can decompress a little bit? I'm sure the desire is out there to continue to do more and be a great example. So what, if you can tell me, what do you have going on?
So I have not started the second book, but I have been approached about a second book already. And so I'm thinking about it. I have a couple of ideas out there of what I want to write about. that I can write about, that I feel knowledgeable and like I've made it through something enough to write about, you know?
Right.
You can't write from fake places. So yeah, so I got a couple of ideas of stuff I want to do. I mainly I really want to get into the speaking circuit and like maybe do some women's conferences or I mean, truly, I really have a really big passion for single women that have not been married, because I think there's a lot of false expectations, if that makes sense. A lot of false expectations, a lot of you know, societal pressure. I live in the South, I live in Nashville. So a lot of societal pressure of like, get married, get married, get married, but nobody equips you for marriage. And
Right.
so I do have a really big heart for single women who are not married, who feel like they're maybe like too old to get married or whatever. And I would really like to launch some kind of online community to empower these women to work on themselves, do the personal development, and also pursue their dreams, because I feel like we see a lot of women get married, or marriage is the only dream and there's nothing else. And so, you know, while you do what you're called to do, the people that are called to you start coming to your life. So it's like we got some work to do.
So it sounds like you might in the future have your own course, basically what I'm getting from it. It seems like you've already laid the groundwork with the book, and then you can create your own course and people can tap in that way.
I don't know how to do that. If somebody knows how to do that who's watching this,
We'll send them your way.
yeah, it's like, help me out. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, really, I'm available, you know, for whatever is going to happen next. And also understanding and knowing fully that you got to do the work, you know, it is
Gotta
work.
put in the
It's all
work.
work.
So advice, what advice would you give a mom, single mom, an up and coming author, just anybody looking to make an impact, but are similar, you know, like you was working 80 hours and really no excuses. You were coming home and doing the mom thing and still finding time. So what advice would you give somebody that maybe wants to write, has an idea, but they just don't know how to approach it?
The first thing I would say is that the impact is greater than your fear. So if you keep that in mind, it really motivates you to keep going. So impact is greater than fear. And then what was the second half about writing a book? Just write it. Don't overthink it. You have to go through editing 1,000 times. Like seriously,
Yes.
People get so caught up in being perfect or having it, you know, like perfect grammar or, oh, this doesn't make any sense. Just put it out on a piece of paper, write the whole thing, get through it, and then come back to the beginning. A lot of that perfectionist, you know, comes out when you're writing a book. And then also, because you're going to bump up against this, is the imposter syndrome. Dude, I have heard about imposter syndrome like so many times in like probably the last like 5 years. I've never experienced it until this book and before this book came out. And I'm not going to lie to you, it almost like completely crippled me and crushed me. I mean, I would just sob. I'm like, I'm not going to put the book out there. Like, who am I to do this? I'm so embarrassed. Like this story, this whatever. Listen, if you're getting that much resistance from yourself, this is your calling. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Put it out there. So I would just say, write the book. Keep going, find the time. You're never gonna have the time. Find the time, make the time. And you don't have to sit down and write for 2 hours a day. If you get 15 minutes of inspiration, sit down and write it. And then when you have more time, sit down and write, like I said, for the craft, you know, like really practice your writing and get through the words that you need to get through. But just do it. Life is so short and impact is greater than fear. You got to go full send. Full send.
Wow. Impact is greater than fear. That's a great quote right there.
Make a t-shirt.
So yeah, you've clearly I've learned a lot. I'd like to read the book. I'm married myself, but I'm always up for a good read. Yeah. I think you offer a lot of motivational tendencies for people, and shout out to you for going forward, pushing forward, and putting out the book. Like you said, you get a lot of negativity and thoughts, and it's so easy to just, shelve things. So, again, credit to you for that. And then lastly, being a great example, to your little one, because, you talked about dreams, and a lot of times people have dreams. Everybody has a dream.
Right.
Something happens, and there's still ways to make some of those dreams happen. Maybe you can't do everything, but you can be a regular 9-to-5 person and still make an impact. So
you sure can. You sure can.
But I appreciate you coming on, sharing your knowledge and your wealth on your book. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. I love doing this. Thank you so much for having me. This has been super fun, and I'm obsessed with the name of your podcast, by the way. Such a good
thank you. Yeah, very original.
No, I like it. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
All right. You too. Thank you.